says I'm live. Okay, it should be there by now, yeah? Yeah, it's got a couple of viewers there, so that's really good. What was that? Yeah. G'day, people. We haven't had any questions come in this week, so feel free to get onto the chat and send in some questions. Otherwise, you have to listen to what I'm finding interesting at the moment. Very interesting. You can see there's hardly any light up in the top up here. So that means that we're getting more and the days are getting shorter. Finn is there. G'day, mate. How you going? Good to have you back. Yeah. So you're welcome to give us a question or two. We are free of questions. So yeah, we are willing to have a chat on permaculture stuff, any conceptual sort of stuff, have a bit of a brainstorming on that, or any particular things that I might be able to help you with. Obviously, I can't get into a full design situation. These lights are annoying. My glasses. No, it's done it again. It's above me. So while there's no questions, I'm going to have a little bit of a chat. So this week is our Syntropics Blitz week. Finn has got a comment there. Oh, he's got a busy week. I have a busy week coming up. A 25 meters square greenhouse. That'd be great and definitely applicable. And Richard Perkins is similar climate-ish, or quite similar possibly. So that would be a lot of information there for you. That's a good move. So this is our Syntropic Blitz week. We haven't had a lot of volunteers. We had a couple came in, good friends of ours came in on Monday, and then that was great. We set up did a fair bit of composting and set up some beds. So I did a reset on the Syntropic tree systems because I hadn't done a reset for many months, not since Fabio was here, and that takes a lot of effort. So there's a few days work in a tree line reset, and also in the garden beds because yeah, there's quite a bit of bulk mass growth from being sitting, which is great. That's ecology doing its thing. So on Monday we had a whole heap of compost. Now, technically, in a true Syntropics, you're not bringing any externals. Well, we do because we have a surplus of compost, so we bring the compost in and to help build our soils, and also wood chip. So I had a supply of wood chip coming from the goats. Excuse me. And so I did some of that yesterday as well. We had a big supply of wood chip from some coarse stuff which I put into the paths. Okay, just looking at Finn's comment. Today we did some more chipping. I had some surplus growth from the property, some in the garden. There was some popcorn cassias that had self-grown in the garden and gotten quite big, and some pigeon pea material that was doing the same. So sort of doing a bit of reset in the main kitchen garden as well. So I took that material nearby to the Syntropics, and today Zai and myself, we chipped that up with our little chipper, ready to just to finalise the beds. I've got a little bit more compost that I want to put in some of the beds. They're not quite straight and wide enough, so I'll tend to that tomorrow. I'm expecting help tomorrow. Have a volunteer or two tomorrow, hopefully. If not, well, still going to approach that task, and then put some more wood chip on because I want to get a reasonable amount of wood chip to get a weed barrier, particularly on the edge of the beds where they fall into the path. That's an edge. Weeds love edges, or nature loves edges, growing whatever plants in that space. And also, it's going to be a week or two, possibly, before we plant that section out. Hopefully next week, get to plant that out. And so I don't want to leave any bare soil in that period of time. So I'm going to be putting that chip on tomorrow. So, and another task I was doing down there was today was the fourth tree line hadn't been finished on the the resets, which is basically a chop and drop type thing, but a lot more serious sort of a chop and drop. It's a biomass accumulation system, so that I had to get right into that. And the main component there was bananas. There's a lot of bananas biomass because there haven't been anything done to them for, let's say, 6 months. So there's quite a lot of growth there. A lot of biomass. I've been able to do all the paths with banana trunk. So if they're that big, we just use them. But if they're bigger, then you split it and lay that on the paths. And that's really cool because then your paths are nominated, then we'll come in and then fill it with compost, which we have plenty of. The compost material has come out of the goat yards, the chicken yards. No, there's no cow manure in that lot. So I'm thinking that next time I'm going to put some cow manure, start piling my surplus cow manure near to the syntropics, and so then I can have the triple, the goat waste, the chicken waste, and the cow. So then we get that diversity in the manures, and the texture of the manures is different. So yeah, that's great to have that there. Okay, just going to catch up with Finn's comments. Thanks, Finn. That's really cool. Your breeding beds on lawn as soon as the snow melts. Quite a bit to do. Oh, you're getting very active there, mate. So we might just have a little look at what you're doing there. So I presume that you'll be doing sheet mulching on the lawn. I can't remember your design, so yeah, that's good. So you're in the early stages of, well, you're coming out of your cold months, so you've got a busy time ahead. You'll be wishing the greenhouse was already there if you're starting to get snow melt occurring, and then get that happening, that you'll be all ready for next season if you don't get it this season. So that's interesting because we don't do much in the summer here, so it's the same time frame because you don't do much in your winter in preparation. So what we've done is grown biomass in the summer, and then now we're putting that into the system. We would have to be careful that we don't have a nitrogen drawdown in our circumstance, because we're going to have a lot of carbon that'll need to be broken down. So, but in my wood chip, there's a fair bit of nitrogen. We have the pigeon pea, we have ice cream bean. There is a little bit of a bush weed, Easter cassia. There's another nitrogen, so that'll be fine going in there. I think should be pretty good. Cardboard mulching and wood chipped pathways, great. We were doing grass on our beds the first season, but we've moved, if we can. I have a fair abundance of grass, but we actually enjoy more using wood chip, and we have the wood chip coming from the goat forage, the waste from the goat forage. So that's a great resource for us. Right now, I need quite a bulk amount because there's no wood chip, no mulch at all in the gardens, because we've pulled out all the weed stuff, and so that you want to build that up more to get a nice mulch weed barrier and also moisture loss barrier, and also that diversity of fungal activity. Okay, this season will be. Yeah, so yeah, and you don't have chickens, so So what are you're doing carbon mulching and wood chip? So you must have wood chip available locally um, to do that. Um, yeah. So what composting material? So if you don't have chickens, you don't have animal system for that. Maybe have other animal manure to get the composting going. As I say, I can't remember your design. So yeah, the people that were helping us today, they've got a new block for themselves. They've been on there 18 months. Don't think they've been living on there 18 months. They wouldn't be. And they, well, the one point I sort of smiled as I said, so you'll be noticing that a big advantage that I have is my animal systems because they don't have animal systems yet because they don't have boundary fence. I think that's probably a priority and get a boundary fence in and then get some goats happening. Um, I think they have enough water for initial setup, and if you have a goat yard, then you can start accumulating um, manure. They mowing at the moment, which is just wasted fuel energy. I feel it could be helping to build the soil if you do regular mowing, not too regular, to get that carbon build up. They've got a pretty good soil, so it's not that desperate for them. But yeah, they need to get animal systems in there. They could be managing the grass, and then you can get the growing happening. So you used to work for a sawmill, wood chip. Okay, great. Yeah, it's always good to have that. Wood chip is something I don't have an abundance of. We every 5 weeks we get about 5 or 6 wheelbarrows spare. I have wood chip for some purpose for the biodigester pit, biodigester, the sediment trap actually coming off the cow yard. I need 3 wheelbarrows for that, and then we have about 5 or 6 more. I could probably do with double that. So I'm on the lookout for wood chip. We had that big wet event that didn't give us wood chip because there wasn't much wind with it. So there wasn't. We need a storm that's going to bring down lots of trees, and then the council comes in and chips up those trees in the region, and then we get an abundance of wood chip. But you have to be onto it because everyone wants the wood chip. So you have to see when the teams are in the area, and then see if you can catch a few loads of truck wood chip. So, but I've got plenty of sawdust. Actually, the sawdust situation isn't plenty anymore. It's actually dropped right off our sawdust supply, and I'm okay with moving away from that sawdust because it's pine. I think it's time to get a bit of other stuff in than the pine. It's been quite handy. It's been really handy actually, but it'd be great to get a bit more diversity in our wood chip. And so I'm on the lookout. The other option, we're starting to grow a fair bit of biomass here. Our wood chip is a little bit small. It's great for what it does, but it's a little bit small for the bigger stuff. And I think we really need to start contemplating getting access to a bigger chipper. A buddy's got one. It's a wicked machine. It's a bit full on. Probably something between ours and that one would be more ideal, but I'll have to look out for that. So last week we were doing chop and drop. We haven't got that chop and drop finished, but I could have stayed on the chop and drop this week on the food forests and the swales. However, we know that we need to get the syntropics set up because Zai's been doing the propagating of seeds for the vegetables for our vegetable box supply, which we want to get started soon. And so she's been doing that. So she's got seedlings nearly ready to go out. So that's why we had to do a focus on the syntropic. So we've got section 1 nearly ready. I'll have that ready by the end of tomorrow. And so that's great. That's a bit of a move forward for us. Yeah, the section 2, 3, and 4. 4 we'll probably do something a bit more longer term, a 6 or 8 month crop in the section 4. I don't think we need all 4 sections for the amount of veggie box that we intend to do. So it's only a small scale sort of system that we do. So we were contemplating about that today of what we're going to do in that 4th section. I'll just see what the comment is. Okay, so yeah, that's a great idea. Grow willow for wood chip. Can you just tell me, Finn, what the wood chip you have available from the sawmill, what type of wood that is. But yeah, great idea. If you've got a draining situation, willows are very good for that. They love that environment. Then you have a great a wood chip source. I've got plenty of ice cream bean, um, and I'm going to start getting a little bit more into that as my supply. It chips up pretty easily, and it pollards very well. And so if you're quick enough, you can get the if you I've got plenty of stem, so you get about that size stem, goes through our chipper pretty good, and it's not too hard to handle. And basically, if you we pollard it at chainsaw or machete height, and if you come soon enough, you only need a machete, you don't need the chainsaw, and that's a pretty good material. So I've got a bit of that, and I'm probably going to focus on that a bit more. We did a big chop and drop in the food forest and chopped a few of them back, but maybe it would have been ideal to keep a few of them on standby. I've got plenty up the back, so maybe I could bring that down and use that as a wood chip, and that's nitrogen. Spruce or pine? Okay. The word is with the pine, you just have to watch the nitrogen drawdown on the pine. I'm not dead certain on that. It's just a word. You might have more of an idea. I don't know as spruce. I don't know what it does as a chip. So we would have around here a lot of eucalypt. If you went 100% on eucalypt, you might get yourself into trouble because of the tannins. You might. I don't know. People are pretty okay with it. We're using eucalypts as a biomass importer for the syntropics, but I think there's a diversity. It's not just you got other materials as well, so I don't think it's an issue. So if you went 100% on eucalypt, maybe you could come into a bit of an issue in time. So we just need to be aware of that. What are the indicators? That'd be the thing to be looking out for. So you must accept feedback. So every action has a reaction. So if you're going to use a specific material, so I'll just give you a little example. We use the pine sawdust because we've got a mill that does pine. I can't remember the breed of pine. It's an introduced species, and I was putting in, to move the slurry out of the biodigester, I was putting in 2 15-litre, 20-litre buckets of this sawdust, and then that was going into we call that the BDC, the slurry after it comes out of the chickens, and then we're applying that on the vegetable gardens. Not much other amendments going into it at that time. No, it was just pretty much basic biodigester slurry and this sawdust. And then after a period of time, I had this fungal layer happening on all the garden beds, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Have we got just a phenomenon, like a succession evolution coming through the garden because we've made a few changes? But then I thought, what have I done as well? And I'm thinking, well, I've been adding this basically, was it 30 or 40 litres of sawdust, litre volume of sawdust to a wheelbarrow. That could be too much. So I backed it off to 2 10-litre buckets, and that fungal, it was too much fungi. There was like a thick layer of mycelium, which you couldn't plant into. So I thought, that's not ideal. So that's gone. That has stopped. I just noticed something the other day, but that's in the path, which is heavy with sawdust, only a small section. So, and that I haven't seen that for a couple of years. So every action has a reaction. So, okay, thanks, Finn. A spruce next to the bad beds is bad news. That used to be what we used to say about eucalypts. It's like a eucalypt in your garden is bad news, but we're using it in the syntropics because that's one of the common uses that we have. So yeah, with the eucalypts in the syntropics, you're giving them a haircut. Not that I've given mine a haircut for too long, but in the syntropics, an idea, a policy that you have is every time you do a planting, you need to do a reset. because then you get a release of the growth hormone gibberellin from the plants that you cut back. There's a growth burst, a hormone for a fast growth, and that goes into the ground, and then your vegetables seedlings take off. If you don't set back the tree line, the vegetables are suppressed because the trees are in a stage of growth and they're not really supporting anything else to come up underneath them. So you give them a reset, and that's the way you function with it in the syntropics. Now, I've had to do some reset of the tree lines because there's massive amounts of biomass, and it's taken me a week to do a tree line. Not really, but about that much. It doesn't take me a week, but I can't put a whole 2 days straight out. I've got other tasks on the property to attend to. So it's taken me a period of time. It's over the 4 tree lines. It's taken me about 6 weeks because it hasn't been my focus. And I've got nothing planted, so I've missed that gibberellin. So what I've done is I've left the eucalypts, and they need to be reset big time. So when we plant the vegetables, we're going to reset the eucalypts, and that'll give me another source of wood chip. I'll put that through the chipper, and then I'll get that gibberellin release. And I've been uncertain because I'm only learning with the syntropics. I've been uncertain of how tall to leave the eucalypts because they're pollardable quite high. So I've actually got about a 4 meter stem or something like that. I'm going to bring that back to chainsaw height and just see how it goes. I was considering take it down to coppice level, but I'm narrowing about it. I think I'll take it to chainsaw height and then get a whole burst of growth at that lower section instead of it all being right up too high, and it's really hard for me to manage. I need a ladder and things like that. So I'm thinking to bring it down, and what's actually happened is, the avocados have been doing very, very well. So they're avocados in the tree line. I'll just run through what's in the tree line. The basics are a Lucina, which isn't really performing for us. It's not very biomass producing. It's a legume. It's okay, so it's doing a little bit of nitrogen. I've been trying to get them at probably a 2.2 meter height, 2 to 2.2 meter height, where I can just snip them. And I'm hoping that as they grow out a bit more, they're going to give some more biomass. So we've got the Lucina. Banana, obviously, they're really bursting the bananas. They've got a lot of biomass growth. The eucalypt, which are doing okay. I've lost some eucalypts. Some fall over, and they're not very stable in their root systems. Maybe there was a problem when they were planted, I'm not sure. And the avocados. So the avocados will be my second placenta probably, because if they succeed and we get avocados, I'm very happy because we're challenged to grow avocados. And so maybe the ecology is allowing the avocados to develop. So that's the main plants. We've got coffee in there as well. So avocado coffee sort or something like that. We've lost a few, but that's okay. We didn't need 5 avocados for a 10 meter row. So that's fine. That's the main ones. And then there's a bit of other stuff in there. The cassava and a bit of other stuff. Nothing's particular, just a little bit of biomass material in there. So my main biomass is imported is the banana and the eucalypt. And so you can take that pattern, if you like, over other things. So maybe the spruce could be utilized like the eucalypt. You keep giving it a reset every time you replant your veggie patches. That's an idea that I've sort of started. I think we're all doing that. Can we utilize some of this syntropic methodology into other systems? That pattern across it seems to be functional. So yeah, just going to get myself a drink. His eye's been making kombucha. It's beautiful. Probably won't need as much as we get into the cooler months, but at the moment, a bit of sweating today. It's been really good. Fabio, hey mate. Hello, how you going, buddy? I was just talking about you. Oh no, how long you been there? Because I've been talking about the syntropic. Fabio is back in Italy. He's been here. Um, he was here, left here in early December. So he was the main one doing the Syntrop for the last 2 years, actually. Which bananas, mate? The bananas in the bananas in the. I've been swinging the machete at them in the Syntrop. The row, the second last row, the one before the one you planted out. Today I was working on that, and it was pretty busy. I've still got a little bit to do in there, but a lot of biomass, so much biomass. With the diseases, okay, is that the ones where I said I think I lost a whole heap with what I thought was disease, Fabio? Because it wasn't a disease, it was the lightning. Yeah, so it's the lightning. So the lightning strike, it was definitely a lightning strike, and they're coming back. I might have to plant one. It might have been obviously where the lightning struck the most central. I might have to replant one, but the others have got suckers coming through that seem to be okay at this stage. Just to those that are listening, just to clarify on that, I thought I had a disease issue with my bananas. That was freaking me out. It was like really, because bananas are pretty. We got a lot of them. We're using them for biomass, and we get to sell a few bananas, which has been quite handy. And they're great for biomass, and also creating an ecology. They bring the water in, make it a moister place, which I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get the rehydrate and turn this into a more of a wetter space than a drier space, and working on what species I use to achieve that. So yeah. So anyhow, we had a big lightning storm before we had a big wet weather event, and there was one lightning strike that was very, very close. I thought it was close to this house, but it was actually closer on the other side of the other house and near to where the students were camping, and it wiped out about 12 meters of a row, possibly more than that, 15 meters of a row of bananas. And I had no idea what it was until I did some assessment and then jumped online and found an article about what happens with bananas with a lightning strike. And what it actually does, it explodes all the cells, and I think they go instantaneous to something like 2,000 degrees Celsius. I don't know for sure on that. And explodes the cells. So what actually happened is when a banana normally falls over, it's green, and it's quite structurally sound, and particularly if the roots are in the ground, it'll hang in there. And for 3, 4, 5 weeks, you'll still have banana integrity of the banana stalk. Well, after about 6, 7 days, the stalks turn to like spaghetti. They just fell all over the ground, just any hollows or whatever. They just sat in that, and I was like, "Whoa, what happened here?" But then it worked out it was the lightning strike. So yeah, thankfully it was that. It could have been a lot worse. So what you been doing, Fabio? I've been wanting your broad fork because I could really open up my beds in the syntropics. They need to be. So I want me to put some carrots in there, and so yeah, I want to open them up. But you've got the broad fork. Fabio's asking, what did you learn from the last big rain event, and what would you like to change? My design is great. The capacity of my swales was challenged. So I need to lift the mound on the swale in the bush. And the other thing I probably lacks is maintaining the vegetation in the swale ditch, because the swales are on the main frame design of attached to the big dam. Basically, is a catchment of all above the property goes through those swales, and the spillways are at the end of the swales away from the dam, about 150 meters each way away from the dam is the spillways, and I hadn't maintained the vegetation in that I don't have a good canopy over yet to suppress the grass. So the grasses are built up. I haven't done anything with them for several years, and so the water couldn't move fast enough along the swales, and then went over the wall of the swale. Didn't cut any of the walls. It just sort of cut one a little bit, but it didn't actually cut through. So and it spilled over, and then a million plus litres came through the whole property and breached every other swale from there. And so we got a bit of erosion from that, lost a lot of organic matter. Apart from that, everything worked fine. At the veggie garden, I haven't lost any plants. We had a lot of wet weather for 3 weeks. So obviously the soil's got to a point where it can tolerate a lot of water over a long period of time. Because earlier years plants would just drown, and I don't think I've lost any plants to drowning. And from there we've had a lot of growth, a lot of biomass growth. I probably should have done 2 chop and drops. I still haven't even finished the first chop and drop. There's a year to get to 2 chop and drops. And the other thing is, I think I've got too much biomass plants in some of the situations, like the mugwort is a lot of biomass, which is fantastic, but it's a biological resource, it's timing and management, and I'm not getting the management into it because I'm a bit short on labour resource, and so I'm actually thinning some of the mugwort out. I've got the food forest is actually ready to be thinned out. It's actually moved forward. The second stage of the food forest down the bottom has nearly canopied in places, and so that doesn't need the mugwort in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for biomass in time. If I take it all out, I think the ice cream bean is going to have to be it, and maybe some leukemia if they perform. I don't think they're going to perform. So management wise, for a wet season, I need more hands on deck, and that's a bit of a challenge at these days. But all in all, I think the place is performing pretty well. It looks pretty good. So that's if I didn't have that swaling, so that swale has given me a bit of grief because it breached. But if I didn't have that swale in, well, obviously I wouldn't have been able to have the syntropics where it is, because the water would have all come through the syntropics. A lot of water went through the syntropics, but probably only about 20% of the volume. Wouldn't have been 20% of the volume, would have been a lot less than that, because it went elsewhere. So, whoa, my phone's not charging. Yeah, so the design's great. The design means I can have that syntropics and have that central part in the main valley. I can utilize that. I just need to get up and lift this swale mound, particularly through the bush, by 300 mil, and open the spillway a little bit wider. As I myself open it up by a couple of meters, but we need to open it up, get a probably 10 to 12 meters of spillway, so the water can get away quicker at the end. There's a surge of water of probably 300 mil in the dam compared to what's happening at the spillway. Probably every bit of 300 mil. So I need to get that water away a bit quicker than what it could. Thanks for that, Fabio. Hope you're going well. Thanks for being on here and your question. The dam's still leaking a bit, Fabio. It's going down. I measured last week about 40 mil per day. So it's better than it was, but it's still going down. I think there was too much vegetation in the dam for when we put in the polymer. Thanks, Finn. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for your questions. I'm probably going to wrap up in a minute anyhow, unless I get some more questions. We've got a few people watching, so whoever's there, if you've got any questions, please feel free to send them through on any subjects on permaculture. This is sort of like a return of surplus scenario where also to answer questions for people doing the online course. This is a return of surplus. I have information that I might as well share my take on situations. So yeah. That's what this is about, and let other people know that this is available. So if they have any questions, I'll do my best to share that on. Yeah, Fabio, thanks for your question. Thanks for being there. And I see that you're happier because you're in the country. We noticed that straight away, that you seem happier to be in the country and getting your hands in the dirt. So I can relate to that. If I'm not got my hands in the dirt, I'll get a bit unhappy. What else is happening, Zaya? Do we need to elaborate on anything else? No.
We're just plodding along.
We're plodding along and trying to move the property into growing more food as an economy. We've gotten the fertility to that point that we can, I feel, and hopefully we've got enough water to do that. But if the syntropics is a great example of accumulate organic matter and biodiversity, it stays moister. So if we can keep that policy and expand that in practice across the property, we shouldn't need as much water. So then we can grow more food and more fruit plants. And I think the fertility is there so that we can, because earlier on we didn't have the fertility. So it's been a bit of a time to do that. Rightio. I think I might wrap up, Zaya. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm gonna call it a day. Thanks, people. Thanks for being here. And yeah, get some questions together during the week, and check us out next week, next Wednesday, and we'll have another session. Thank you.